Hi there. So I have a DJI Osmo Pocket 3, but I want to do multiple camera angles, and I may even want to do some live streaming in the future with my Osmo Pocket 3. But I don't want to really use a computer, and video editing is a real pain. And if these are the problems that are plaguing you, well, then keep watching because you're watching Blue Collar Guy. Okay, we're back. So if you've had problems with video editing, in other words, trying to get the right shots, doing different camera angles, you know that when you're editing, it's a real pain in the butt. You've got to try to splice in your shots. You've got to add some text, some overlays. Even with the best video editing software, it can be a time-consuming process. So how do you really cut that down and take that time and use it to be more creative for yourself? Well, I do have a solution that works really good specifically with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Now, the DJI Pocket 3 has a webcam function in it, so you can use it as a webcam, and I'm actually using that function in conjunction with a special video switcher. Now, if you don't have a video switcher that can take a webcam, then you have to buy a little box, and I'll show you what that looks like later. So I'm going to take you to another shot using the Sony ZV-E10 and show you how I've got the Osmo Pocket 3 hooked into this multiple camera angle. And as you can see, if I move around, I still got the face tracking and everything else. So we're going to go to the other shot. So I'm going to put myself on the picture-in-picture here. So if you look down here, I've got the OC GoStream Pro. And the OC GoStream Pro is a video switching device. And it is very unique in one aspect, is that if you look at this little white cord, and I specifically added this white cord here, there is two USB-C inputs, and the one you want is the bottom one. But don't worry, if you plug it into the wrong one, it just doesn't do anything. But the bottom one has a special converter that will take a webcam and will actually use it as an input through the auxiliary, which is right here. So when you do that, it allows you to have multiple camera angles, because I've got myself on the DJI. Like if you look down here in the corner, this is me talking with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 in picture-in-picture mode. And then I've got the GoStream here. I'm also using the Mic 2, and this is the receiver that you can get for it, and it's the 2.4G receiver, and it has the I got it linked into the Mic 1 input. So I can use this as my mic, and and you can also do audio follows video, and I'm not going to get into every aspect of this mixer, and the reason why is it would be like over an hour-long video. So let me just go back to me for a second, and then I'll explain more. So I'm going to take off the picture-in-picture. We'll fade back to me, and so this mixer that I have is not, it's a very complicated piece of equipment, and it has, one YouTuber described it as extremely configurable. And this is good and it's bad. It's not the simplest thing to deal with, but it's also not the most complicated thing to deal with. And if you're willing to spend the time to figure it out, you can. Now I'm going to go back to the mixer real quick here and show you a couple of things, the basic things that why it is a good companion with this Pocket 3. So we're going to go back to the mixer, and I'll put myself in the corner there. So if you look here, you can go live stream up to three different live streams. So you can have Facebook, YouTube, and whatever other one, Instagram, let's say Instagram, and you can live stream them to all of them at the same time, provided that you have the amount of bandwidth. Now, I picked this device for video editing purposes myself, because going from a downward shot to a forward facing shot, and also this whole picture-in-picture thing, to do this without one of these boxes, as you know, can be a very time-consuming process, because you have to cut, you have to do overlays, you know, and if I wanted to switch where my angle is on the picture-in-picture, so there I can put myself up there in the corner, and this other shot is with the computer here. So if I go like this, and I wanted to have the computer on there, so I've got it on through the Chromecast. So now I'm going to put myself back up here. So let's say, okay, so I'm going to take myself off. When you're using this complicated little switcher, the only problem that you're going to have is coordination. You have to get to know what all these buttons are, and you have to make them kind of second nature, which ones to click, and over time it will be second nature. I'm a little clumsy right now, and that's normal for when you're getting to know some of these devices, and I've relabeled some of these. Now I even have another camera angle. I'm going to show you that one. I'm going to switch on my Canon, because I have a Canon, an old Canon T3, and I'm just waiting for it to go up here, and I'm going to try to switch. Okay, so I'm going to fade over to the Canon. So this is the Canon. So now I got a Canon here, and it's not going to stay on. It's going to click off because I'm having some issues keeping it on the video feed. So it's going to eventually just click off, and you know, I don't know how to fix it yet, but I'm working on it. And it has interchangeable lens. Okay, so bear with me. Okay, so because I'm doing all of this on the fly. Now you can still edit afterwards, because I'm recording right to an SD card, and I'm going to pan over to the bottom here and put myself in the corner again. So here is the SD card slot. I'm just going to move this up. I don't want to ruin my video feed, but the SD card slot is there. So unlike a lot of YouTubers that do reviews of these devices, I'm actually using it while I'm reviewing it, which makes it a lot harder. And I've also got a monitor for it, so I can see all the different screens at once. And I'm just going to pan back again to me and take me off there. So when you have all these screens going at the same time, it can be a little bit overwhelming, because you're looking at all your different camera input feeds as well as what's going out, and you have to kind of pay attention, and you have to think a little faster. It's a little bit of an adjustment, but it's going to cut down on your video editing a lot. So if you're doing a product review and you're just going back and forth between two cameras, instead of spending hours on your editing, now you've cut it down to maybe a half an hour, because you might want to add in some text, some things like that. You know, you can put still pictures on here, and you can even add video, like a loop on there too. I am going to put a link to two YouTubers that did a very good review on this product, and they also went into a great amount of detail, and they know more about this type of box than I do. The reason why you want to watch my YouTube video on this particular box is because mine is the only one that pertains to the Osmo Pocket 3. They don't talk about the Osmo Pocket 3 and how it relates to this box. I'm the only one that does that. So if you're wondering, well, why the hell did you make a video, and why don't I just watch their video? Well, their video doesn't talk about how it relates to using the Osmo Pocket 3 in this configuration. And that's where I'm going to get into more. So let's go back to the box. And so, as I said, you plug in your Osmo Pocket 3 into this little jack right here, this little guy right down here, and I'm going to try and tilt it up. And as you can see, there's two USB-C ports. It's the bottom one is the one that you want. Okay. And then if you have a Google Pixel tablet, you can plug in one of these. I'm just going to show you. Pull this towards me a little bit. You see this little thing here? This is a Chromecast. And you don't need to get an expensive one. You just need to get a 1080p version. Because this box here is 1080p input only. And that's the reason why it works so good with the Pocket 3. Because in webcam mode, all you have is 1080p at 30 frames per second. And that's all you're going to get. So why would you buy a 4K switcher if all you can do is output 1080p? And that's my point. And that's why I was able to repurpose the Canon. So I'm going to go back to my shot, take myself out of there. And this is where you save a lot of money. When you get into 4K switchers and recorders, you're looking at, you could be spending a couple $1,000, $1,600, depending on what features and things you want. This is actually a better setup because I have a much larger screen that I can look at, because a lot of these switchers have a screen built into them. And they say, well, that's just wonderful. They give them good reviews. Those screens are only 5 inches. Try looking at all these different camera angles in these little tiny boxes at a glance to try to figure out what you're trying to do on the fly. Not going to happen, especially if you're older and half blind like me. So this particular little box, and I'm going to switch back to it again and put myself in picture, is a much, it's much simpler. I'm going to take my Pocket 3, and this is the advantage of having the Pocket 3. And I put it on this little stand where I can move it around. And I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to shut off the face tracking mode, and that's turned off. I'm going to go to the strictly downward shot and take myself off for a second. And we're going to move, looking at, basically. So let's pan back to that. Okay, so this is the monitor that I'm looking at, and it's 15 inches. Okay, and I think I got it for like $120. And if you look up here, and I'm going to go up here now, so let me just, I'm going to zoom out here. Hang on. There we go. Now if you look up there, this is my output monitor, and it shows me what's going out to you. And I've got histograms and all that good stuff on there. And then, of course, I have my camera. This is my Canon T3. Let me see, I gotta go down. There's the Canon T3. And once I figure out how to get this so it just stays on and focuses on me, that will be wonderful. So I'm going to, flip around back to me, and there we go. Okay, so now, when you're messing around with this particular webcam mode, you have to be very careful of bumping the cables and things like that, because otherwise it's going to hang on, I got to adjust this a little bit because it's just cutting off the top of my head. There we go. So when you're moving it around, you just have to be careful, because if you bump the cable and you knock off the feed, then it'll cut out. and I find it to be a little bit sensitive. One of the things I kind of don't like about it. But that's why I have the Canon, so that I'm not messing around with it too much in that regard. Yeah, so going back down to the downward feed on the... So the GoStream has multiple mic inputs. So now this means that you can have all the microphones that are built into all your cameras. You can use those microphone inputs, or you can add your own, or you can do what they call audio follows video, so that if you're micing different people and you only want their mic to be active when the camera's on them, then you'll hit this little button here and you can pick which ones it is. So like I said, there's other videos that go into much better detail as far as all the features and things like this, but the thing that is good about this is that it's not that expensive and it works really well without having to buy a separate box. Now I'm going to get into that, so I'm going to go to the computer and we're going to go to that feed. Okay, so I'm switching cameras again. Thank you for bearing with me. You can cut out some long pauses and things like that. Let me just see. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to that now. This is the view. This is the okay, so this is the cost of the GoStream, $402. Okay, and you can even get a different version of it. So if you want to have what they call SDI, but I don't think you're going to need that. That's for different cameras, but that's $542, which is actually still quite inexpensive for SDI. And it's got all kinds of flexibility, powerful effects. You know, this shot of the back of it is terrible because you can't see all the inputs. This is the monitor. It's an Arzopa monitor. And here, oh look, it's on sale again for $119. They did want $189 for it not that long ago. And so you have to watch for these limited time deals. So that's what I paid for it, was $119. And I think that it's perfect for this particular setup. It's just the right size. Those 5-inch monitors that come with those other ones, and I'm going to show you what the other ones kind of look like because I'm going to go into my lists here. I call it my shopping list. Okay. All right. So here is what the other ones look like, and these are over $700. So they have a screen built into the switcher box, and that might be all fine and dandy and everything, but look at the price, $719. And it also cannot do the webcam function. I don't believe this one has a UVC input, which means that you'd also have to buy this little box right here. And this little box here is another $219 because you'll need that to convert your webcam or whatever into an HDMI input. And if you want to do that, you can buy a bunch of these little boxes, but as you can see, that's half the cost of that whole switcher that I just showed you that I got. So why would you spend all that extra money if you don't need to? So I'm going to switch back to the downward shot, and let me just see. Oh, hang on a second here. So this particular one here is a lot cheaper. Now the only thing I don't like about it is it gets really hot. Like, it is toasty on the bottom there. It's got to be like 50 degrees Celsius. Like, it's warm to touch, almost like a hot cup of coffee. However, no one has ever complained of it failing, which is fine. And it's got good ventilation on the side, on either sides here. But, you know, it's no one's ever complained about it failing, and it seems to work rather good on that. I can zoom in a little bit on the buttons here. So, as you can see. You can adjust the light intensity, so if you don't want them so bright, you can turn them down. I have turned them down because they are blindingly bright, so you can use this outside if you wanted to. And you can record directly to the SD card. Now with the other one that I showed you that was over $700, you can record to a USB flash drive. I'd rather record to an SD card myself. So that's just personal preference. Okay, so we're gonna go back to me, okay, and hang on. Oh, I gotta, first of all, I have to put it on me. So let me just go here and we will go back to me and take me off picture in picture. And here we are back. So, and while you're, you know, I can zoom out and get more of it back in the shot. So like, let's say I wanted to go, you know, back and forth, you can. You get my point. If I try to do all of this in editing, it would take forever. And it also allows you to be more creative because you can sit there and play around with different camera angles on the fly without having to edit them in afterwards. And also have to deal with your audio situation. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that get one of these. If you have an Osmo Pocket 3 and you want to use it in a studio setup, this is almost, in my opinion, a must-have. If you're tired of doing long edits, if you're frustrated with, you know, all of that, I can take this video now and I can trim it down in my editing software without having to worry about things like audio. I can adjust all my color science or LUTs or whatever I want to do all in one shot without having to go and do them from every separate camera angle because I'm working with one feed. Now I know what you're saying is, hey, this is all 1080p. How are you going to upload this in 4K? It's a 4K camera. So is the Sony ZV-E10. The only one that isn't 4K is the Canon T3. It's 1080. This switcher right here is only a 1080p switcher. So what are you doing? Now, if I wanted to do live streaming, you can only do that in 1080p because to do that in 4K is going to cost you a small fortune. Not to mention your files are going to be huge and you have to buy a better internet connection to do that kind of live streaming. And this is provided that YouTube will handle it because they might not be able to, they might not rebroadcast it to everybody else in the 4K even if you're uploading in 4K. In other words, they may downgrade your signal. So why bother going through all of that time and money and expense and file size and equipment if you don't need to? But then you're looking at this video and it says it was uploaded in 4K. Well, I'm going to upconvert it into 4K using software, and I can tweak things like my sharpness and things like that to get it pretty close to 4K resolution. Is it going to be perfect? No, you have to make compromises when you're dealing with these things. But now I've got my computer on there. I can scroll around. I can show people things. I've got different camera angles. It's without a doubt a lot more professional than some of my other videos. You know, I have a lot more features. I can, you know, this box does things that I haven't even figured it out yet. And again, I'm clumsy today, you know, and I apologize for that. But this is me using the equipment while trying to demonstrate the equipment. And there was a couple of other guys that kind of figured out how to show you the screens a little bit better than what I'm doing. And I'm going to, again, post a couple of links to the two best videos that I think are, they explain this box in the most detail and how to configure it and how the macro keys work and things like that. So don't be overwhelmed by it. Once you get the hang of it, it'll be just fine. You're going to be fine, and you won't regret getting it. It'll be the best 400 bucks you've spent. Now, mind you, you still need to get a monitor too, but you could use an old computer monitor. It's just an HDMI output. So, you don't have to buy another monitor if you don't want to. You can just buy the box. And it works good with the DJI mic too, as you can see. And, overall, I'm very happy with it. I love the idea of repurposing my T3. I normally just use it for photos because it's great for photos. And the other thing too is that the T3 and the DJI have something in common, is that the amount of megapixels that the sensor has, and the fact that the T3 has an APS-C sensor, which is larger than the 1-inch sensor in the DJI, kind of, they're very similar in that regard. So I have noticed that the camera quality, though, even though the sensor is smaller in the DJI, so if you ever wanted a comparison, I just gave you a direct comparison between the T3 and the DJI Osmo, just to show you what 10 years does as far as time goes, and color science and that sort of thing, because I believe it's using like a Digic 4 processor. And I'm hoping to use it more in the future, and if not, I'm going to get a different camera, but I do want to get another Canon, mainly because of the lenses. I've invested some money in lenses, and I'd rather just reuse the lenses, but if I can't, I can't. So, if DJI made a mirrorless camera, I would probably invest in one of those, and I would stick that there. I would get some interchangeable lenses for that. So if you're listening, DJI, pay attention. And also, maybe DJI needs to come out with a more inexpensive converter box for their cameras for people that already have a switcher, but it's not compatible with that, and they don't want to spend $219 on one of those boxes. So I hope this video helped. And I hope that, I'm excited about doing more product reviews with this switcher, because it's going to make my life a lot easier and a lot faster. So when you see future videos, I'm going to be using this switcher, and I'm going to be doing all my downward shots, back and forth, the picture-in-picture with this switcher. I'm going, as I figure it out and add more features to it, because you can put your logo in there, you can do all kinds of crazy things. It even has where you can do the green screen, the chroma key they call it, where you can put an overlay and actually make it look like there's something there when it's not really there. Kind of like the weather girl, when she was standing in front of the weather girl. I don't want to be specific, but anyways, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a long time in the making. One thing I will say in my final thought is that a lot of YouTubers do reviews on equipment, but they're using equipment that is far more expensive than the equipment that they're reviewing. And they're saying, buy this microphone, it's only $120. But meanwhile, they're not using that $120 microphone to record themselves. Everything that I'm showing you, I bought with my own money. It's not a sponsored video. And this equipment is, tested as far as, is it worth the money? I'm using it while I'm reviewing it. It's a practical application. I'm not everything that I buy. I test it, and I want to show people that you can use this stuff for editing. I can use my Google tablet for editing. I'm going to edit this video using the tablet or the Google Pixel phone. The other thing is that I can even Chromecast video from my phone to get a different angle shot on the switcher. So the Chromecast can be used for that, but it won't be clean. In other words, you're going to see all the the artifacts from the zoom and all the the other the edit buttons and all that stuff. It's not just going to be a clean output. That's what they mean by clean HDMI, is not having all of the little words and all of the your settings that are displayed. All your display icons will be gone if it's clean. If it's not clean, you'll see them all, and some people will say, well, that doesn't look very good, it looks kind of annoying. So, but that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you on the next videos. And oh, the other thing too, before I go, is that this particular box can keep still photos, but you have to put them in a PNG format. And you can get converters to convert JPEG photos into PNG photos. Then you can put them on the card and you can display them on your live streams and things like that. But if you have the Chromecast, I can put a still photo, and I'm going to just demonstrate that. So we're going to go to the switch over. So there's a photo that I took for a thumbnail. Okay, it's like it's one of my other videos. Okay, so you can display your photos that way too. So I can preload them onto the tablet and then put them in later. So that also works. But this doesn't eliminate editing entirely, but it's going to cut it down to like maybe a sixth of what you did before. So there'll still be some editing. I'm still going to trim out some of the fat, so to speak. But that's all I'm basically doing, is just trimming things out. I'm not going to really be adding a whole lot in. I think that it's a win. It's definitely a win for me, and I think it'll be a win for you. If you wanted to make your videos a lot more professional, and you wanted to have different angles, you want to try different things, this little box here is the way to go. And that's it. I'll see you at the next video. Take care. Be safe at work. Blue Collar Guy out.